Now, why do we love the cloud? First, it's scalable. If we do our Office stuff through Office 365 and we hire past the level of the number of licenses we have, we don't have to run out and buy a new license. We just turn it on right through the interface. That's very convenient. Flexible employee access that supports a hybrid workforce. We here at SecuLore, in fact, use Microsoft's SharePoint to work together, to collaborate. The fact is that I can then bring my laptop home, and if Alex is working on something, that's fine, I can see it. Flexible data storage, everybody sooner or later runs out of drive space. It's just easier to add drive space when it's somebody else's computer. Costs less than traditional hardware solutions and is sustainable. By and large, this is true. Servers are not cheap. Now, you do have to pay every year.
Yeah, I'd say for that piece that it costs less when you're bigger. There's significant overhead in subscribing to these services, in my opinion, but you're taking the cost away from having to hire somebody with the expertise to manage it. You manage it on premise.
More reliable, offers redundancy on cloud providers' network, making data backups easier. So that's a mouthful. Let me put that very differently. What you're doing is making backups somebody else's problem. And that's a great thing to do because nobody likes doing backups. I've been IT for years and years and years. Nobody likes doing backups, and you have to test them. What we are certain of is that Microsoft and Adobe and Amazon and Google, they have people who will do the backups.
It's important to note on this point, though, is that just because they can do the backups doesn't mean they are. You have to make sure that you have everything configured properly and you've signed up for the right services. A good example is an AWS. You might think that you're highly redundant. Those availability zones are there for you to use, but that doesn't mean you set it up properly. It doesn't mean you actually have that availability. So there is an expertise there that's still required. It's just shifted in terms of what and who.
It improves IT productivity, automatic updates. How often do you hear us say patch, 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 update, update, update? You can pay them to do that. Again, as Alex was saying, though, that is not guaranteed. It depends on who you're dealing with, whether or not they do the updates for you. For example, if you are housing a virtual server somewhere else, they're not necessarily updating it for you. You have to update it yourself.
Yeah, and that's like the distinction between platform as a service and software as a service. So, with SaaS, you don't have to worry about updating an operating system, and maybe that's good. And a lot of folks are moving to SaaS for that reason. They want the solution. They don't want to have to manage the thing underneath it. But in some cases, you do have VMs in the cloud, and that means the onus is still on you in terms of making sure that it's kept up to date. Somebody on your team would need to do that.
And provides improved collaboration because you don't have to all be together. The growing shift of businesses to cloud computing has led to the adoption of security solutions to keep cyber attacks in check, and that's what this is about. Cloud computing is growing. Across multiple industries, we see it. Gartner estimates 45% of global IT spending will be dedicated to building cloud infrastructure, up from 17% currently last year. They estimated spending on cloud computing to reach $500 billion or so, give or take a little bit in 2022. And the COVID-19 pandemic has both shown the value of it and shown that on-site data storage is not necessarily the most important way to go. Organizations will use the cloud to adopt emerging technology. I mentioned earlier that something like Microsoft Office 365, you get the latest and greatest features. And they'll begin to rely on cloud services for innovative applications. The cloud will be combined with AI, which we'll discuss later, IoT, the Internet of Things, and 5G technologies. The power of hyperconnectivity. This is the new critical infrastructure. And we all know this. if your home internet goes out and you're working from home, you've got a problem. This is the new critical infrastructure. But using the cloud service instead of an on-premise network doesn't necessarily mean the organization is safer. It just means it's not here. As cloud computing continues to change the technology landscape, cloud security continues to be the central focus for creating a robust cyber posture. You are as secure in the cloud as you make yourself.